Alright guys, so here's the review of the Aquatico C-Star GMT. So this isn't the first Aquatico I've checked out on the channel, it's actually the second. First one being this one down here. If you haven't seen the review for that, I'll leave a link to that up in the top if you want to check it out. But getting back to this one, I'll quickly show you what you get in the packaging before we get into the actual watch. So we've got a nice wooden box. Not the best quality wood, it's quite light, but does the job. And then we've got the branding on top and then this little latch to open it up. You see we've got a few bits in here. Not just the watch, so we've got this additional strap. So I'll quickly pop the watch to one side for a second and we'll go over the other bits in here briefly. So this is the second strap that you'll actually get with it. So it's a tropic strap with the branding on the buckle. Nothing too fancy, pretty standard tropic strap, but it is nice and soft and supple, and I'll show you that on the watch later on. And then we've got the usual paperwork and then the warranty card. But we'll get all this out of the way and we'll get right down to the watch. And here it is. So as you can see, I've got a pretty interesting carbon fibre dial on this one, but they do different ones. If you're not keen on this, don't worry. This isn't the only option, they've got some more traditional standard ones. But before we go into any more detail, first of all let's go over the dimensions. So we've got a diameter of 42mm, thickness of 14, lug width of 22, and then the all-important lug to lug is coming in at 49.6. So it's on the slightly larger side, so a lot of guys with bigger wrists might be keen on this one. When it comes to the weight, on the supplied bracelet, with all the links included, it's coming in at 202 grams, and then size for my 7-inch wrist, it's coming in at about 180. So, seeing as we're talking about the bracelet, let's take a closer look at that and start with that before we get into the head of the watch. So it's a fairly basic bracelet, mainly brushed as you can see, just some polished details on the edge of those centre links, just breaking it up slightly, just add a little bit of interest. And then we've got those female end links, which help keep it under that 50mm, which for my 7-inch wrist is pretty much the limit of what I go to. When it comes to the clasp, you can see we've got a pretty good one here. So we've got the Aquatico branding and also dive extension. So we've actually got a dives extension on this. We've also got a little bit of micro adjust as well. So you should be able to get the perfect fit. So the way it works, if you just press these back, it'll slide back. I probably should have done it with the other hand, would have been easier if I pushed them instead of pulling them. And then you get a decent amount of adjustment there, as you can see. And then it just slides back in. Milled clasp, pretty standard. And then when it comes to the case back, we're going to zoom in on that. So we've got a nice design in the centre there, and it's a screw down case back. And then we've got the usual kind of stuff around the outside, with one exception. It actually says this is limited edition. So for this carbon fibre one in particular, on the website it says that it's limited to 88. So I'm guessing it's probably going to vary depending on which version you go for, or it might just be 88 for each different dial version, but I'm not entirely sure. Now moving on to the head of the watch, we'll start with the side profile. So you can see, again, we've got that fairly basic finishing, just fully brushed. Then we've got that side crown there with the Aquatico logo. And you can probably also see as well, we've got that box stone crystal. So that is protruding out above the case and the bezel. And as I say, pretty simply finished, basically fully brushed. Now moving on to the dial. As I said, this is the carbon fibre one. But you might also notice we've actually got carbon fibre on the bezel as well, which is pretty interesting, not something I've seen before. This is the first carbon fibre watch I've checked out. And you've probably also noticed we've actually got some blue AR on that crystal. I know that's going to put some people off straight away. I personally don't mind it too much, but obviously clear AR would have been better. So let's zoom in a little bit more and then look at this carbon fibre dial in a bit more detail. So as you can see, it's a fairly subtle carbon fibre kind of look. It's not overly in your face. So we've got applied indices, which are fairly large, especially the ones at 12, 3, 6 and 9. And then we've got the printed Aquatico branding at the top, then C-Star GMT down at the bottom above the 6, and then 1000 feet, 300 metre water resistance. And then also down near the bottom we've also got that date window at the 4:30. Not my favourite position for it, I personally prefer them at the 6 just for the symmetry. When it comes to the hands, we've got nice proportions on all of them, so no issues there. Then we've got that nice red accent on the GMT hand and also on the second hand. And then the only other thing on the dial is the printed minute track. So now if we get a zoom out, we'll talk about the movement in a bit more detail and go over that. So you've probably already guessed what movement we've got in here. Yep, it's the NH34, and that's obviously a GMT movement. So if we unscrew the crown, nice big grippy crown, suiting the watch. Pop it out to the first position. And if we turn it one way, we can move the GMT hand, and then if we turn it the other way, that will change the date. Pop it out again to the second position. Second hand stops, so we've got hacking. And then we just change the time. And then obviously the GMT hand will move with that as well. And then pop it back in, second hand re-engages. Then we've got hand winding. All works well, no issues whatsoever. And again, as I say, nice grippy crown, so easy to screw back down. So now, let's check out whether we've actually got sapphire crystal on this. Using the trusty diamond selector tool. And yep, we have got sapphire crystal, so good to see. So we'll go into a bit more detail on the bezel now. So you already know this particular one is a carbon fibre insert, but it's actually 120 click as well. So nice clicky action. No back play at all. And then when it comes to the alignment, you can see on mine, it is nicely aligned, no issues there. And again, depending on what dial version you go for, obviously you'll get a different bezel insert to match. So you're probably wondering now, what's the loom like on this? Is it any good? Is it going to match up with all the other bits we've done so far? Or is that going to let down the watch? Let's find out. So you can see we've got quite a bit there already, but let's charge it up, give it a proper chance. And there we go. So, as you can see, it's looking really impressive, at least initially. I wasn't actually expecting so much loom on the bezel. I thought that would just be the loom pip and that pretty much would have been it, but fully loomed bezel is really nice. And it's actually surprisingly consistent with the hands and the indices. Despite them being applied indices, they've managed to get a decent amount in that bezel as well. We've also got loom on the second hand, on the tip of that, and also on the GMT hand, so you can actually use the GMT function at night, which is good to see. But the question is, what's the longevity like? Is it going to fade on one more than the other? Are the hands going to last longer than the indices? Is the bezel going to fade really quickly, or is it going to hang in there? Let's find out. Let's speed this up a bit. So it's not really changing too much at the moment, but the further we get into this, the bezel will begin to fade slightly, as will the indices, but not by a great deal, and the hands are pretty much exactly the same. So overall, really impressed with the loom on this. Definitely no issues whatsoever. So overall, I think it's shaping up to be a really nice package. And what really helps even more is the fact that I've got a discount code to get 40% off. Yep, you heard that right, 40%. So that's HonestWatch40, and then you can use that on their website to get 40% off. And they've now also got an AliExpress store as well, so I'll leave a link to that as well. And that's around the same kind of price once you apply the coupons for that. So the price is, with the discount, $299, £234, €274. So for what you're getting, I think that's a really good deal. But before you make up your mind, you probably want to know what it's like on wrist. So I'll show you what it's like on the bracelet first, and then I'll also show you on that Tropic strap, so you can see what the two look like. So here it is on the bracelet on my 7-inch wrist. I think it does look good. Despite those slightly larger dimensions, I think it works on a 7-inch wrist quite well still. And then, because you've got that diver's extension and that little bit of micro adjust as well, you can get the perfect fit. It's not an issue at all. I also really do like this carbon fibre dial. As I say, it's the first time I've experienced one. And it is quite subtle, so I do like the fact that it's not really in your face. But it just adds a bit of interest. When it comes to issues though, you probably figured out what they are. So, that blue AR isn't ideal. Would have been nice if it had been clear. And also, maybe they could do with another layer or two. But other than that, I can't really fault it. You've got the 300 metre water resistance, the diver's extension, you've got the great loom, and despite it being a larger watch, it still wears nicely on my 7-inch wrist because we've got those female end links. So, I think overall, they've done a really good job. I also like the fact that it's pretty much fully brushed, so it is a proper tool watch. No polished bits really to get scratched and scuffed and smudged. And I've been wearing it mainly on this bracelet because I do really like it. But I'll show you now what it's like on the Tropic strap that's also included in the package. So here it is on that now. And again, we've got the Aquatico branding on the buckle there. And it is a really nice, soft, supple strap. Breathable as well. Pretty much everything you'd expect with a Tropic strap. It completely changes the look and feel of the watch. Obviously it's quite a bit lighter with this. And obviously, I think it just suits this carbon fibre dial perfectly as well with it being black. So if you're still interested in picking one up, don't forget to use the discount code HONESTWATCH40 to get 40% off on the website, or you can buy it on AliExpress, and don't forget to use the coupons again. But that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.